I spent 2 weeks in Japan. It was pretty crazy, and it's one big blur at this point, but I'll do my best to recount the journey in this video. Believe me, if you're into vintage electronics, Tokyo is the place. Video games, old consoles, and pixelated graphics are the norm there, and there's probably a higher concentration than anywhere else in the world. Japan is great because it has a retro aesthetic all around. There's lots of fussy, crazy technology everywhere, and people clearly prefer buttons and knobs to the Western trend of simplicity and seamlessness. Every cab and Uber seemed like a cockpit with 7 screens mounted all around. It was absolutely ridiculous. And this is what the typical cab looks like, by the way. Super boxy, almost like a toy blown up to full size. Japan is very roomy. I was expecting it to be cramped, sort of like Manhattan, but really it's not. Japanese characters have a certain presence that can't be toned down, so it heavily influences the appearance of every screen and every sign. There's lots of English as well. I kind of wonder how Japanese people feel about English being so prominent. One thing too, Japan hasn't given up physical media like we have. I went to Tower Records, which I was surprised still exists because it went out of business in the US in 2006, and there were 7 or 8 floors of CDs and vinyl and merchandise. It was mostly Asian pop music that I can't relate to, but still, it's like walking into the 90s, and it played right into that retro aesthetic. When it comes to retro, or vintage, or whatever you want to call it, there's a Tokyo neighborhood in Chiyoda that's absolutely essential, called Akihabara. It's a hub for technology, culture, anime, toys, video games, everything. You see amazing billboards everywhere and swarms of people dressed up in costume. They say it's best at night, which I can easily imagine, although I was there during the day. It's just city block after block of stores selling gadgets and electronics and toys and video games, and the stores have 3 or 5 or 10 floors. I don't know why, maybe due to the constraints of the buildings, but many stores are multi-floor and each floor generally has a theme. For instance, my favorite place was Hardoff, a chain of reuse stores all over Japan. They resemble Goodwill or Salvation Army in the US, although unlike those, they actually have tons of computers and electronics. As you can see by this floor map, this one has junk in the basement, working electronics on floor 1, musical instruments floor 2, and toys on floor 3. It's important to note that in Japan, junk doesn't mean what you'd think. It means as is or untested, not necessarily bad. I buy junk products online from Japan all the time, and more often than not, the stuff works. I went to 2 Hardoffs because they were very close to each other in Akihabara. Here's the junk floor of store number 1. Wow, look at this. This computer's just thing up. Here's musical instruments. And here's toys on floor 3. Anyway, just an overwhelming amount of material, as you can see. Clearly Nintendo has a massive presence. It's everywhere and obviously very culturally significant. I think these stores are pretty savvy with pricing, and the items I verified on the internet were okay deals, but not necessarily great. But the vast majority of material I saw, I just had no clue. It was like being in a candy store, and it was all very tempting, but it was clear that any purchase would be an impulse buy, and I didn't want to carry too much crap home with me. I settled on this junk Fujitsu Lifebook computer for 9,600 yen, or about $60 US, mostly just because I like red, and look at that thing, it's a very pretty red. I didn't see many Macs, but I did find a white unibody MacBook for about $30. These aren't worth anything in the US, and apparently they aren't worth anything in Japan either. Moving on, look at this store. It had a small elevator. In fact, most elevators in Japan were small and notable for not being very well ventilated. This place was relatively disorganized with boxes of stuff everywhere. This floor had strange arcade games I'd never heard of. A friend I traveled with found one with a credit in it, so he sat down and played a while. And look at this crazy version of Pong. Not even a video game, but a physical game with a block representing a ball that moves around. I should have tried it, but I didn't. There just wasn't a lot of time. Here's Mario, who seems to be ever present in Japan. Literally, when you arrive at the airport, there's a giant Mario on the wall greeting you. I bought this thing called a Fami Solo for $40. It's a clone of the Nintendo Famicom or Family Computer, which is the Japanese version of the Nintendo Entertainment System. The Fami Solo turned out to be a common item when I looked it up later, and I should have bought one of the other more interesting ones, but oh well. Again, I was overwhelmed with choices and there was so little time. Interestingly, there were far more consoles than computers, and I saw a lot of special edition colors that I never knew existed, like this really cool translucent blue PS2. A lot of retro is specific to Japan, especially entire walls of Japan-only games, but much of what's in Akihabara is not necessarily remarkable, or stuff you couldn't get on eBay. The remarkable thing is the massive volume of it, the fact that it's all in one place. You just don't have stores like these in the US, and it's only here you see a Game Boy in a plastic bag, or hundreds of iPhones on a wall, all meticulously organized and documented. I'd love to see the business behind the scenes where all this material is collected and processed. Bick Camera World is a super nice store that sells electronics, new Apple products on the ground floor, and they seemed to have as much as an Apple store, really. Just look at this pricing sheet. They had appliances, air conditioners, and even a big selection of bidets, which were everywhere in Japan. This may be too much information, but after using a bidet for 2 weeks, I'm completely sold. I just installed 2 of them in my house. It's just a better, cleaner way to go. And talking about fussy electronics, they have these control panels with tons of options. I mean, you can blow dry after you're done. Some of them even have an enema option, but I'll leave it to you to try that. Anyway, look at these crazy keyboards in the Bick Camera. Totally overwhelming. I really wanted one, but again, how do you make a decision when there's so much? When I bothered to look something up, I almost always found it online. So should I really bother buying it here and having an overweight suitcase? And here's all the toys on the toy floor. There were so many insane mech warrior, battletech kind of characters everywhere. I don't know anime or cartoons or what I was looking at all, but clearly these aren't just for kids, and clearly there's a whole world of media associated with all the stuff. I ended up getting one of these kits where you build a device out of pre-cut wood pieces. It's a marble maze toy. You crank it to lift the marble back to the top and start over. I paid $40 and later I found it on eBay for $25. But hey, at least mine has Japanese writing. Here's something weird. Everywhere you go, there are tons of these, I don't know what you call them, gumball machines with toys in clear plastic containers. I looked it up and it's called gachapon. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but apparently the name refers to the sound when you put in a coin and turn the crank. They're absolutely everywhere at the front of every store, and whole stores are even dedicated to them. I assume kids probably try to complete a series, or who knows, maybe 1 in 100 of the little toys is super valuable somehow. I think it's gambling for kids basically, but adults were doing it too. One insane place is Don Quijote, or Donkey for short. It's another store you see everywhere, always multi-floor, and it's just absolutely chaotic. Mostly tourists, I think. And by the way, a huge number of the tourists are from other Asian countries, which makes sense if you think about it. If you're in China or the Philippines, Tokyo's not far, and it's a great place to visit. But Donkey has every knickknack imaginable, plus food, plus a pharmacy, plus electronics. I heard someone call it everything on Amazon in a store, which is probably not far from true. Kit Kat bars are very popular in Japan, and they have dozens of unusual flavors. Don Quixote was very humid with very little AC, and with thousands of people swarming everywhere, I found it a little claustrophobic. Another funny thing, Don Quixote seemed to have its own theme song, which played continuously, and the Hard Off might have had one too? Am I hallucinating? Maybe, but that seemed to be a thing. I feel sorry for employees having to listen to something like that all day. We went to 2 Team Labs art exhibits in Japan. They aren't specifically retro related, but you'll probably like them due to the technology. They're called Team Labs Borderless and Team Labs Planets. I guess you can describe them as experimental visual art experiences that you walk through, and they're mostly made of video projections. Part of Planets has you take off your shoes and walk in water with digital fish zooming around, which was certainly something new. Some of the exhibits allow you to interact with art on the walls through an app on your phone. One has you do obstacle courses, which is pretty wild because every surface has projections blasted onto it. You can see me almost losing my balance here. Planets more or less has you follow a track through the whole thing, whereas Borderless is sort of a choose-your-own adventure where you wander and discover additional rooms, thus the name Borderless. This room was pretty cool. You walk among what seems like a garden of glowing lilies at night, and this one was my favorite. Very dark with what looked like red-hot glowing boulders everywhere, as if they were volcanic almost. So I'll go into some other topics briefly, like food. I don't know if you like food, but I do like food. So yeah, the food situation was completely out of control in Japan. I ate like pounds of raw fish per day. If you don't like seafood, you might have issues here. Actually, that's not true. There's every kind of food imaginable. There are like 250 Mexican restaurants in Tokyo. You could eat Italian food at a different Italian restaurant for months. There's so much of everything. Tokyo is literally the biggest city in the world, but if you're eating Japanese food, it's hard to get away from fish. From what I understand, fish is considered a different category than meat, so if you say you don't want meat, you'll probably still get fish. There is beef, but it's fancier and less common, and you get like 5 bites, so don't expect the 16-ounce steaks you get in the US. I definitely recommend the ramen. It was 95 degrees my whole trip, so not exactly ramen weather, but hey, when in Japan, I discovered I like abalone. I ate it raw, which is crunchy, and also cooked, which is more like a mussel or a clam. Here you can see it being boiled alive. A little bit on cultural differences. First off, it's very easy to get around and deal with people in Japan, and everyone is super respectful, so as a tourist, there's not a huge barrier. Most people know some English. Everyone bows all the time, really more of a head nod, and I found that nice actually, just a respectful acknowledgement of other people. When you give someone money or your credit card, there's a little tray to put it in, and when you give something or receive something, you want to do it with 2 hands, not one. And the subways are completely quiet, and it's rude to talk on the subway. Possibly the strangest norm is that it's rude to walk and eat at the same time. I don't quite get why, but there were signs everywhere reminding you of that. Oh, and there are no trash cans anywhere, so you have to take your trash with you. If you buy food from a specific place, they'll take back the trash from that, but don't try to throw in your empty Coke bottle because they'll refuse it. I guess this is to make you think more about the trash you create, but the irony is everything in Japan is wrapped in 50 layers of unnecessary packing material, and people are obsessed with junky, useless plastic knickknacks and gadgets, so I don't quite get it. Here's something interesting. Contrary to what I thought I knew about Japan, everything is cheap. We ate out every night, and for the 4 of us eating piles of food with drinks, we often paid around $80 to $100. Uber rides cost like $10. A stop at a convenience store for multiple items was like $5. I'd say in general, everything was like 30% less than what I'm used to. So yeah, the yen is way down. Oh yeah, here's Shibuya Crossing, the famous intersection featured in that movie Lost in Translation, where thousands of people cross the street at once like 2 waves piling into each other. It's kind of fun. It's sort of a massive human group experience that repeats itself every 5 minutes. So, overall, Japan, what do I think? Well, on a high level, no question, just go, it's amazing, Tokyo is the biggest city in the world, and there's an infinite amount of things to do. Just pack your stuff and go, you need to see it. Honestly, it felt like the most civilized place I've ever been. I felt entirely safe the whole time. I've been to many countries that, while I thought they were nice, I'm in no hurry to rush back, but Japan, and specifically Tokyo, is a place I know I will be going back to multiple times. So anyway, I hope that gives you some insight into the Japan retro scene and other things. Sorry the video is a little chaotic. I found it hard to experience the place and also film it properly at the same time. Anyway, if you've been to Japan, definitely write about it in the notes. I'd love to get pointers for my next trip. I hope you liked the video, and thanks for watching.
しております。任天堂スイッチ、プレイステーション5の最新ゲーム機はもちろん、PC エンジン、ゲームボーイなど昔懐かしのレトロなゲーム機も買い取り強化中です。箱や説明書の中でも喜んで買い取りいたします。お気軽にお持ちください。本日のお相手、箱根ありがとうございます。引き続き、店内をごゆっくりご覧くださいませ。